Hey everyone, so this is the second video update in the playlist on sort of more money, lifestyle, and ongoing life events. And this is really in relation to my last video, which I'll link in the description, about how I was able to take 30 days unpaid leave and how that benefited me. So, what I'm going to go through here is a budget, talk about how we budget, why it's important, and how to calculate your emergency fund. If anyone's interested in having a copy of this budget tracker, please leave a note in the comments and I can ensure that that gets sent out to you. So, me and my partner, painfully, well, more painfully from my side, we do actually have finance meetings every month, or as much, try to stick to once a month, to go through and update our tracker and review our numbers. I think it's a really important habit to build because it means that you stay on top of your earnings and your expenses. My partner actually put this tracker together so that we knew for a whole year what our incomes and outgoings would be, any additional leftover money, so that we could invest or pay off our mortgage and sort of track that on a monthly basis. And yeah, it's made the world of difference rather than relying on just checking on your phone. Here you can really project what your future earnings will be and losses. So yeah, I highly recommend doing it. And like I said, leave a note in the comments if you would like to have a copy of this tracker. So first things first, obviously, we're going to have the whole year along the top. It has some basic formulas in, so anytime you update numbers, everything gets updated. But yeah, we want to go month by month from January to February. The really good thing here is that when you want to start a new year, you can just obviously create a new sheet in Excel and just update your earnings. Hopefully, your income will go up if you get any pay increases. You could obviously do this on paper or on the whiteboard behind me, like I mentioned in the last video, but doing it on Excel is so handy because you can both have access to it whether you're like at work. And yeah, like I said, those calculations are automatic. So what you need to start off with is both of your incomes. Obviously, this is your net income after all your deductions. Next, you have your fixed expenses. Now, for us, fixed expenses means any direct debits. So anything that's going to come out on a regular basis. So mortgage, any subscriptions to like Netflix, your phone bills, gym, basically anything tied to your bank account, yeah, that's coming out on a monthly basis all the time. We then have another section called variable expenses. Now, these are things that you have to pay, but you're constantly paying each month. So, transportation, this includes petrol and train tickets if we need to go to London for work, groceries. And we do budget a fixed amount for these, but it is variable. Some months we may spend slightly more, some months we spend slightly less. So, it's important that you do track your spending and update it at the end of each month. With like banking apps nowadays, especially Monzo, is really simple to do that. It can actually separate things for you and tell you how much you've spent, and even on your phone tell you if you're close to exceeding that budget. So yeah, some months this will change, and this is really payments that you're making on like an ad hoc basis. But you know you're going to have to spend. So the main ones we list are transportation, groceries, house shopping. So this might be things like, I don't know, you need to buy um, a new basket to put your towels in. Anything we need to buy for the cats. Any credit card bills. So would be a negative. This would be a number from if we spent on the credit card. Any traveling we've done, so any holidays. Miscellaneous, so if you decide to have a date night that you hadn't accounted for, you'd stick that in miscellaneous. And then child expenses, so this is different to nursery. So nursery is a fixed expense because we pay the same each month, but child expenses might be things like, you've gone to a water park for their birthday or the Sea Life Centre and you want to record it in your tracker. So yeah, we meet together once a month. I say meet to make it sound official. Once we put our son to bed, we sit together, we go through the numbers for that month. Next, you have personal expenses. Now, this is the money that you and your partner are going to pay each other into your own personal bank account to spend on anything you want, clothes, going out with friends, coffees, you name it. Again, this should be a fixed amount, and ideally, it's a direct debit that goes into your separate accounts each month, and it's like your pocket money. The next one, envelopes, is an interesting one, so let me explain this. These are basically expenses that you have to pay once a year, like house insurance, your car tax, your car MOT, but you want to accumulate or you want to accrue those amounts throughout the year. So what we do is we take the amount we paid for our, say, house insurance, divide it by 12, and then each month we have a pot in Monzo created where money would be sent automatically from our main bank account into that pot. So when we come to the time of having to pay our car insurance, the money is already there and we don't have to take it from that month's earnings. That way it's always accounted. You're earning interest on it throughout the year. Okay, maybe it's pennies, but look after the pennies and the pounds look after themselves. But yeah, it's a really important one to make sure that when you're going through the year and you have these potential, big bills, like insurance, council tax, etc., it's always accrued for throughout the year, and then when you get to that month, you're not suddenly hit by an unexpected amount. You have it already to pay for, and you just easily transfer it out. Next, in the bottom box is savings and investments. So this is any kind of amount you're spending into like an investment account, like an ISA, or if you're overpaying your mortgage. This we kind of update a bit more ad hoc. We do have some fixed outgoings from here, like the investments, again, a direct debit into, like a Vanguard or an AJ Bell. But say the mortgage overpayment, that may vary. Now, how do we work out if we have any varying expenses on savings and investments? This is the bottom line here. So this bottom line shows us our final leftover balance at the end of the month. So you can see for January, if we stuck to our budget exactly, we would have an extra £231.33 that we could put in any pot that we like. So this could be perhaps a mortgage overpayment. So what we would do is we would update the spreadsheet and make that payment. Simple, right? So yeah, it's a really, really effective and fun thing to do with your partner. You can make it more fun by maybe having a takeaway or, a glass of wine if you're into that, or go for a walk and have a coffee and discuss it. Of course, it's like, you need to have a way to update this, but it's quite a fun thing to do. It doesn't take long. Once you get into the swing of it, it's really simple. Of course, these expenses on the left-hand side can be adjusted to meet your needs. If you have any additional subscriptions, just make sure you're using the right category. So yeah, just to recap, income is your earnings, your salary. Fixed expenses, anything that's a direct debit from your bank account. Variable expenses, anything that you're paying on your debit card and you have to sort of have a pot to spend over the month. So the main ones are going to be your petrol, your transport to work, and then any groceries shopping. We do budget it. As you can see, the number's the same each month. And then anything else you use your debit card on, you can enter it in this box. So yeah, coffee allowance might be a good one because we know how expensive coffee is from coffee shops. Personal expenses. Now, this one I think is going to be like a hot topic. So we have both our salaries paid into one account and then everything splits from there. And we treat our personal expenses evenly. I know some people don't do that, and that's fine. That's up to you. But we find this is the best way to ensure that we're paying all our bills. There's no discussions about money kind of at the end of the month or feeling of unfairness. And this is what we pay each other on a monthly basis. And then the envelopes, like I mentioned, the envelopes are kind of the big bills you have on a yearly basis. The reason why we make these payments yearly is because you save a lot of money. Your insurance can be like £1,000 to £2,000 cheaper just if you make a one lump sum payment. Same with all of these different pots. Two here I'm going to highlight as well is a Christmas pot and a birthday pot. So Christmas pot, obvious, for your Christmas food and presents. Birthday pot, the same. The way we worked at the birthday pot is you kind of, take everyone's in your family that you're going to buy a birthday present for, think of that number, and then divide it by 12, so you get your monthly accrued amounts. And then the Christmas pot, obviously that can change. Normally, Christmas we sort of spread out amongst family, so this amount is just something that can help cover that, like either cost or drink. So yeah, as I said, let me know if you want a copy of this sheet. I'm happy to send it out so you can use it yourself and put in your own numbers. Now, this is obviously a budget plan when everyone is earning money. and everything is happy, going along fine. Now, in a case where you are predicting that, or if one of you has lost your job, or in my case where you needed to take unpaid leave, things can change obviously dramatically. So let's just say person A for February has £0 incoming. If we scroll down to the bottom, of course, that's a huge minus 2843 that you're going to be coming into your account. How do we make adjustments for this? Well, if you look here, you could start saying, okay, what can I remove? Oh, this month we're not going to do any investments. Oh, I can, not pay each other, but of course that's not practical. Let's not accrue for our envelopes. Again, not practical, because when it comes time to pay these amounts by the end of the year, you're going to be short, and you're going to have to take that money from somewhere else. Now, this is where an emergency fund comes into place. So an emergency fund, as it sounds, is a pot of money that you use to pay for unexpected emergencies. This could be your car breaking down. This could be one of you losing a job. This could be a health issue for a cat if you don't have insurance. Anything that's going to be a substantial amount of money that you can't find a way to cover normally. Now, this can be anywhere from 3 months to 6 months worth of expenses. And I'm going to show you now how to work it out. So it's really handy because you can use your same budget tracker. What you need to do is to copy these numbers and copy it all down. We want to keep the formulas, paste it to the right hand side, and we can call it emergency fund. And then I'm going to hide some of the cells. I don't think I pasted with formulas. Sorry about that. Give me 2 seconds to fix that. Okay, cool. So yeah, our emergency fund is basically any expenses that we can't do without. So I'm going to go through the list and tell you what I mean by that. So mortgage. Whatever happens, you must pay your mortgage, otherwise you'll be penalized by the bank. Netflix, Spotify, these are luxuries. We're going to remove them. We don't need them. The internet. This is not a luxury, it's a necessity nowadays, because if you have lost your job and you're applying for jobs, you need the internet. The phone is required, Amazon isn't, energy bills required, swimming is not needed, house cleaning is not needed. Nursery, I would say it is needed, because you would still want to send your child to daycare so that you have time to apply for jobs and that sort of thing. The gym, I mean, for me, I would say it is required, but of course, potentially it's not. You could freeze your membership. Transportation is going to be required. Groceries is going to be required. Personal expenses, I mean, for me, in a time where you weren't working, I would say this isn't required, or you would need to drop it down much, much lower. Now, your envelopes, again, for me, these are crucial, apart from the birthday and Christmas. I don't want to sound like the Grinch, but really, if you don't have a job, how can you be giving people birthday presents and paying for Christmas presents? And then, of course, we wouldn't be making any investments or any mortgage overpayment. So I think the one thing I forgot to do was delete the salaries from the top. Oh, bear with me. Whenever you're doing something like this on screen, it always gets messed up. So what is my final number at the bottom? Did I want it to be minus? Yes, I did. I'm just validating everything is correct. Okay, so 4,000, that sounds really high. I think it's wrong. Bear with me. No, that's correct. Sorry about that. So £4,450 is our total monthly outgoings that we must pay. We can't do without. Okay, there could be some deliberation. If you stop sending your child to nursery, you could try to drop both your expenses right down. but the rest you'd need, so 3,400. So between 4,400 and 3,400. Okay, let's take the average of that as 4,000. So really, it's expensive, right? If all of a sudden you don't have a job and your monthly outgoings are always £4,000, you can see from one person's salary it's not enough. So having this emergency fund, what you want to do is then take that number and multiply it by 3. It should be your first target, to try to get 3 months worth of saved expenses, so that if there's ever an emergency and you don't have a job, you have a pot ready to come in and help you. Now, obviously, that is a big number. I'm not saying it's not. £12,000. What we're going to do, we're going to split this amount into monthly repayments to see how quickly we can get it there. So we can see from our expenses originally, we were having £231 down below. 231. I will now take this number, divide it by 231, then take it again, and then divide it by 12. So basically, it's going to be 4 years to save this much money. It is a big commitment, and it is a long-term goal that I think everyone should have to while you're in a good position, you should really strive for that. So now I'm going to unhide. Now I've done my calculation, I'm going to unhide my sheets again. And in my savings and investments, in the line for emergency fund, I'm going to add my 230 to every row. This means that it's going to take me 4 years of saving like that to have an emergency fund to cover for any type of emergency. Of course, you could make it quicker. Obviously, play with the numbers. I was having £500 there going to investments. In your mind, you might say, actually, that £500 going to investments, I could make lower or switch it. Maybe I'm going to do £500 in my emergency fund and 230 in investments. Let's check what that does for our number. 500 brings it down to 2 years. So, I think that's a good sacrifice. You're building your emergency fund, and at the same time, you're still investing. So, yeah, I think it's really worth doing this exercise with your partner, playing around with the numbers, seeing what's a priority for you. I think, in my opinion, and what I have learned from people online, is number one, remove your high interest debts. So this isn't your mortgage or your, student loans. This is your credit card. Number two is build your emergency fund. And then number three, invest. So if you could do a bit of both, I think that's great. But if we just focused on building our emergency fund, so let's do the whole 730 in an emergency fund, it would be 1.4 years. So what's that, about like 16 months? 16 months worth of saving in an emergency fund to really cover for any unexpected losses or rainy days. And then once you're there, that whole budget of £730 can go straight into an investment. Of course, if you get any bonuses throughout the year, it's a great idea to put those into your emergency fund to speed up how quickly you can get there. A lot of people also mention having an emergency fund up to 6 months. I think that's kind of personal preference, and it's up to you. It's a great long-term vision, but I think after aggressively building an emergency fund to 3 months, you could switch tactic and then invest for another couple of years, and then slowly start to build your emergency fund up to 6 months. Now, where do you want to put your emergency fund? So basically, an emergency fund needs to be somewhere where you can access quickly, obviously in case of an emergency. So it's no good putting it in a fixed rate savings account that you can't access. It needs to be somewhere like an online savings account with your bank. Obviously, recently we're having very good interest rates for saving, like 4%. But that may go down, but it's not really about the interest rate of the emergency fund. It's really about security in case you need to take any time off work or you lost your job. So yeah, anywhere that's easy access, no more than 1 day to access that cash is ideal. So definitely not putting it in a fixed rate savings account. So lastly, I want to give a shout out to some profiles or people that I find inspirational when talking about money saving. One is my partner, and I'll put her link below for her finance channel. Two would be Ken and Mary from the Humble Penny. The second one is Gary, third one is Gary Economics, and then the fourth is Savvy Wallet. There's some quite interesting topics there. I really recommend watching the Savvy Wallet and Humble Penny podcast that they've done recently. Thanks for watching. I hope it was interesting. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you want a copy of this tracker. Thanks.